Hello, everyone, and welcome to this B2 Lead conversation. Today, we have another amazing guest, Francis Ann Ligan Yip Chung Sung. Francis is the head of human resources at Crono International. Francis, welcome. It is an honor to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Barbara. First of all, thank you for having me here and for I'm humbled for this opportunity to share a little bit of my story. So,
Oh,
let me start this off. Thank you once again. So, mabuhay everyone. This is Francis Anligan Yipcheng Sang with you, and I am here to tell you about my story. So, I think a couple of you must have known where I'm coming from when I said the word mabuhay. Mabuhay actually is a Filipino word that carries a lot of meaning. So it literally means long live, or it can also mean cheers or welcome. So a bit similar to how they call it in Hawaii, like they call aloha. So we say in Philippines, mabuhay. So I'm welcoming you all to my story as a woman in general and as a woman in leadership. So I hope you can learn something from this story. So
that's
let
so
me,
that is so
yes,
beautiful. Let me point out the sound already of the place where you are from. Can you repeat it, please? The name, the name of the place where you are.
mabuhay.
Mabuhay. Beautiful. It is such a beautiful sound. Beautiful
Thank you
sound.
so much. Thank you. Yeah, so it's we normally when we have guests or when it's first time for you to come in the Philippines, when you arrive at the airport, we say we always have this big signage that says mabuhay. So we're welcoming you to our
Oh,
home, or for my case, I'm
yeah.
welcoming you to my story.
Store. And that's so beautiful and it is so warm. So thank you for your welcome, Francis. So
Thank
let me ask
you.
you, let me start with a question.
Yes.
Would you, well, first of all, would you like to introduce a little bit more yourself and your what you do in your career before telling us if where you are today is where you have always wanted to be?
All right. So let me start off with my roots. So I am originally from the Philippines, Cebu in particular, actually. So Cebu has been my home for over 22 years before I relocated here in the United Arab Emirates, which has been my home for more than 15 years now, because
Oh,
this is where
beautiful.
I have my career progressed. So I often get a lot of question actually about my name. They always say like, yeah, it's very long. So let me tell you a bit about it. So previously, before I got married, my name actually is Francis and Seco Ligan. So when I got married with my husband Kevin, he's from Mauritius, by the way, I have to drop my mother's maiden name, and my father's last name has become my middle name, and my husband's last name has become my new last name.
Wow.
So my husband is from Mauritius, I'm from Cebu, so it's like my name carries like two islands in one. So
You
it
are an
can be,
island couple.
yeah, so it can be the long stretch of Cebu and Mauritius combined. So
Yeah.
that explains about my name. And before I start my career in the human resources, actually I studied Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and graduated in the University of the Philippines. Thanks to my aunt, Zinaida, who's also a professor in that university, for prompting me to take that degree, because I always wanted to either become a doctor, become an engineer, or an accountant. It wasn't my first choice, but I was very fortunate that, yeah, she led me to that degree, because it turns out to be really, it has become my profession and my passion until date. So when I was in the university, before we graduated, you have to complete your internship. So when we had the internship, we have the opportunity to explore both the clinical side of psychology or the industrial side of it. So a number of us, mostly of our classmates, has taken individually. They mostly opted for industrial psychology. and there's only two of us out of 26 in our class who opted to have both. So the clinic exploring the clinical side of psychology, wherein I have to support teachers teaching children with autism
Mm,
and really helping them to learn and understand how is it to live their day-to-day lives so that they can gradually go mainstream. So that was about 3 months. On the other hand, I have to take on a job also as an HR intern in a hotel wherein I have to do a lot of interviews, series of interviews actually, with the number of employees in the organization in the hotel. So I have to document what are the job functions, write job descriptions, write document flow and process flow. So in a nutshell, I have been fortunate to have been exposed in both worlds, and I have decided to explore the industrial psychology, wherein I have taken on human resources as my focus in building my career. Not because I didn't want clinical psychology, it's just like at that point I was still 21, and it was too painful for me to see children
mm,
with autism that are having really difficulty even to tie their shoelaces, to drink a glass of water, or like even sometimes showing tantrums. So
mhm,
it was a bit of it was too painful for me to see that every day as part of my
mm,
daily routine in the job. So I explored the human resources side of psychology. And how did I get my first job? My first job actually was an HR assistant in the Shangri-La's Hotel, Mactan Resort and Spa. I was an HR assistant there. So I applied for a mass hiring. There was like around 2,000 applicants that applied for the job. It was a mix of positions that they were looking for. And thankfully, I managed to get the job as an HR assistant. So 2 weeks after graduation, I thankfully had to start
yeah,
working full time. And was it easy? It wasn't at all because I have to go through a series of interviews. Like if I have to recall, it was a total of around 7 interviews. I have been interviewed by an HR assistant, HR service leader, HR service manager for human resources and
mm,
employee relations, the
mm,
training manager, and our director of human resources, and also the general manager of the hotel. And thankfully, they have trusted in me. They have given me the job, and that's where my career has really took off, I would say. So if I have to recall, the ticket for me to get into a good job was my educational background, and also of course my personality, because like I didn't have any experience, and thankfully they've seen something in me that they have given me the job to deliver an HR assistant position. So, moving to an HR assistant position or associate, I have been given the opportunities to really work with a lot of, we have around over 1,000 headcount. So, it was a very good environment because there was a lot of diversity. So I get to work with expatriates and at the same time with local nationals as well. So it has really opened doors for me to see how it is to work at an international level and at the same time to work with the local nationals as well. Then over the course of my experience, I have been very close to our director of spa. She's Miss Nancy. She's actually a woman, very tough one, very strong. She's our director of spa, and she has to deal with a lot of situations to provide solutions to address behavioral issues of her team. So since I was an HR assistant in charge of employee relations, where I have to take care of the employee activities, at the same time take care also of the disciplinary procedures. So look after the disciplinary procedures. So in her case, I have to deal with a lot of disciplinary issues. So I have to work with her to during disciplinary meetings, address behavioral issues about the staff, write some documentations for our corporate lawyer to review, and so on and so forth. So this director of spa at one point in her career was also assigned to relocate in the United Arab Emirates to open the spa of Shangri-La Abu Dhabi. So when I heard about it, I was really looking forward to explore how it is like to be working overseas. Although I'm very happy about my job in Shangri-La and like being under my boss as well, who is a woman, and being surrounded with a mix of men and women who are also very good to me in terms of my development as an HR professional. I always wanted to see what's really out there. So before she moved to the United Arab Emirates, I went to visit her in her office and just mention my intention that yeah, in case there would be an opportunity to be able for me to join your team, even as an admin assistant, or could be in another department where you can refer me to, I would love to really go overseas and explore that kind of environment. So thankfully, after 2, 3 months of speaking, like yeah, she managed to open up a position for me. It was actually for a receptionist role because there was no administration budget during the time of the opening, but she did promise me to transform my role from reception to administration. So I always wanted to explore operations anyway, because when I was doing disciplinary hearings, I always wanted to understand how each and every department functions, not only within human resources, but also in the different departments of the hotels.
Francis,
So,
let me intersect you there for a moment, because from what you have already described as the beginning of your careers, I find already very interesting lessons there. Because first of all,
thank
you said
you.
that you have been given great opportunities from the start. You have said that you have people around you that supported you in growing in your career. And then you said also that this last point, you were able to express your desires to the
Yes.
director. So three very important things that I would like to ask you to deepen a little bit your story there. For example, when you say that people around you supported you and gave you opportunities, what are you actually saying? What happened there? Was because they were particularly kind, you asked for opportunities, so that other people that might find themselves in a situation where maybe they would want opportunity or they want to grow in their career, and they can see what you did so that you did have this opportunity. So what happened really there? People particularly kind crossed your path, or were you doing
Thankfully,
things?
actually, it was a mix of both. Like, I would like to capitalize also when you mentioned that, yeah, I was able to express myself over since I got the job and during the course of my employment as in my first job. I I was able to express openly what's in my heart and what's in my thoughts. Like I'm the kind of person that really likes to open up or like share things regardless it's positive or negative, because I prefer to be open to the person whom I feel negative or I feel bad with, instead of like saying it to others, like, or disclosing it, because sometimes you can share it with your social support, but being direct, being open in terms of my communication, I think that's also one thing that really made them appreciate me, that yeah, I am someone genuine and I am someone who really like would want to shape her future, and
Mm-hmm.
like she's someone, yes, who can, like, as in my management role as well, I often get this critic, or sometimes I would say a compliment wherein my director is telling me that, yeah, one thing I really like about you is that you don't say yes all the time. When it's time to say no, you really say no. Like I know a lot of us, like sometimes they say like, yeah, Filipino nationals, they always like to say yes, but like for me, you don't just say no, you always like to speak up your mind, you express your things, you bring it on, and once you put it on the table, tomorrow it's a new story, it's a new day, you don't bring it up again. So I
And
think that's one thing
and
that
it
was
is a,
very key.
and it is a great skill actually to have, because
Thank you.
for many people it is difficult to express what they want and to ask for what they want, or to be able to say yes and no independently of the situation, but remaining faithful to their value and what they believe. That
That's
seems to
true.
me is what you were doing. So my question would be, was this a skill that you learned? What, or have you always had it? And if you learned it somehow, what were the key shifts that you made within yourself so that you were able to actually express yourself? Perhaps if you look back at your story today, can you identify some moments when you actually made an effort and made it a point to actually express what you needed, what you wanted, and you were able to make a decision to do that? Can you look back at your story and recognize some moments like that? And what did you do then?
All right. Okay. So, yes, I can recall a particular instance for sure. When I was working in as receptionist and then become administrator in the spa, I realized that my cup of tea is really in the human resources. It's not in operations, not in the spa, not anywhere else or any other professions. So I took the opportunity to speak up with my to organize a meeting with my director. So she accommodated me, and we I still can remember that we went to a treatment room wherein we had a very heart to heart talk about like me showing my gratitude, thanking her for the opportunity that she's given me to work internationally. But on the other hand, also expressing myself that this is not really where I want to see myself growing for the next 5, 10 years. It was a bit of it was a challenge for me to really open it up. I took a lot of time. I rehearsed a lot of time to really tell her and to prepare myself what I should tell her, because I know that, yeah, she has been really great to me, but I'm no longer like, yeah, I'm no longer happy or not. It's not where I want to be. So I just like open it up to her, and I can still remember that, yeah, she was of course she was also very happy to have me, thankfully. And like, yeah, we had tears when we were in the treatment room until towards the end. She really understood what was my goal, how driven I am, and how passionate really I am in HR. So she supported me for a transfer from the operations to the human, back to the human resources. So
Right.
not back to the Philippines, but back to the here in the United Arab Emirates, in the human resources department. So although it was really bitter to let for her to let me go, and like for me to leave that place where I have been really having a lot of great time and fun and learning, but
Mm,
she supported me so that I can grow, and she wanted me to really be just
mm,
progress where
yeah.
my passion is. So I think that's one best example that I
Yeah.
can share.
So what I hear you saying is that you had first to find clarity around what you actually wanted, and you had that clarity, right? I don't want to do
Yes.
this anymore. It was useful. I learned a lot, but it is not where I want to be. So clarity first. And then you
Yeah.
had the courage and the determination and the self-confidence to say what you wanted, right? So stand up for yourself for what you want, and you openly communicated that with the person that was in charge at the time, and had the really the courage, I would say, to stand up for yourself and share what you wanted with her. She understood, and you
Yes.
were on your way towards what you actually wanted to achieve, right? So, and the other element is that this person with whom you have talked to clearly respected you and knew that you knew what you wanted, right?
Yes.
So she allowed you and she facilitated this next step, correct?
Yes. Indeed. Indeed. Thankfully. Yes. So
So
I just have to vocalize my thoughts and what's in my mind, actually define it internally from my side, express myself, and try to gain the commitment of the support of my leadership as well, of my mentor.
yeah,
Yeah.
and from that moment on, this is when you started in the position you have today. How was it, the transition to where you are today?
So the
And was this
transition,
exactly what you wanted, given that you had that
okay.
clarity?
Yes. So when I again went back to the human resources, I like what you said, I have to define really what's really my goal. So I know from the beginning that I wanted to be in the human resources, but I don't want to stick in one position. So I want to really push myself to progress. Whenever there's opportunity for growth, I always try to really show myself, perform. And if there's an opportunity for us to apply for the job for a higher level role, then I express myself in the same way as well. So I have been in Shangri-La Abu Dhabi for around 4.5 years. So it was a great time of being back to the human resources, being able to handle recruitment, employee relations, a bit of payroll. And when there was an opportunity to open traders, I have been moved from the five-star hotel, which is the Shangri-La, to the four-star brand of the Shangri-La, which is Traders Hotel or the business hotel within the same complex. So I took on the pre-opening role, and that's where again I learned from the beginning all areas of HR, from picking up colleagues at the airport at midnight to like doing photocopies until yeah early morning, doing filing documentation up until there was an opportunity for me also for my managers. I have two women managers there, Miss Yvonne and Miss Sheila. So they were really very like supportive as well when it comes to say if they have another meeting elsewhere, they always send me to meetings with all the department heads of the hotel, and I get to interact with the general manager or our resident manager. So there was that opportunity for me to progress, and I have enjoyed it. And later on also to touch base a little bit on the planning and strategy. And at one point I said to myself, okay, yes, I really enjoy, I love the brand of Shangri-La. I really enjoy working here and I'm progressing, which I really admire and I'm really happy with. But is it enough for me already? I asked myself. Then I said, okay, one brand of a hotel is very good, and like another brand within the same hotel group is good, is very good. But how is it like to be outside of the Shangri-La hotels and resorts? How is it like to be to be working with another brand? So that poses a lot of questions to me, and I said to myself, okay, let if you really wanted to know, my curiosity really drive me to see like, yeah, I want to know how does it differ, like is it really is it really the best here, or is there anything else better where I can learn?
And what I hear you again, and here is another lesson that I hear when you speak is you are passionate about learning new things, and
Yes.
you were open and observing the environment you were working on. You were asking yourself questions, and you were curious about what would that be. So you were able to imagine different scenarios for you and trying to see what would that look like for me, what that be like for me to work outside Shangri-La, to work in a different environment. So again, there is this ability from your side to do well what you're doing, being open to what you might not know and be curious about it. And I think that these are very important element, especially when also we, in your case, it seems that it was quite smooth, right, the path. But I'm going to ask you a question just to verify a few challenges. And actually being curious and asking question works both when we are in smooth situation and also probably when we are in a challenging situation where it seems like we cannot make any move or we cannot choose for ourselves. But actually being curious and asking question, challenging question, and in questions that open up new possibilities is also a great way to go, right?
Yes,
Francis,
absolutely.
here's the next question for you. So if you look back and you have this beautiful attitude where you look for clarity, you learn to speak up for yourself, you learn to fight for what you want and ask for what you want. Very important. You want to learn more, you are not shying away from learning all kinds of aspects of your job, right? And then you're open to ask yourself questions and imagining other opportunities and possibilities. But if you look back, can you identify key challenges that you had to
Um,
overcome? Been personal challenges, been in the workplace, with some colleagues. What would you say was one, two, three key challenges that you had to overcome throughout your path?
All right. Okay. So working with people actually is very challenging. Human behavior is very complex, and the diversity that it brings you, it really can test you to your core. Like working in the United Arab Emirates is really it's very good. Sometimes you stand in the mall, like you can hear like in 1 minute you can hear like five different languages. So 5 to even 15 different languages as you like just stand in one corner, and while people walking by you can hear people talking in different languages. So you can really tell that yeah, it's a very diverse environment. People are coming from all walks of life, coming from different cultural backgrounds. So the diversity was challenging for me to understand people from different background. So that was one of the key challenge that I have to face. And dealing with human behavior, sometimes people really surprise you. Like today, they're very nice to you when you attend a meeting. Everything was smooth. Everything has been laid down. Like everything was very clear what needs to be executed, what needs to be done, what needs to be delivered. And the following day, something comes up. Then here, boom, we have to change strategy, we have to change the plan, you have to execute something else.
Mm,
So it really tests you how to deal with unpredictable situations and unpredictable behaviors as well. And that's where I think adaptation and agility is very important. That yeah, you have to adopt, like you have to really establish human connections, because being a woman is really challenging as well once you sit in the boardroom. I think here in the United Arab Emirates, mostly of the boardrooms, I would say it's male dominated. Although I really admire the initiatives that the UAE government is working on to promote gender diversity and to eliminate bias amongst women in leadership, but it's still, we still don't have the numbers, and it's reality. Like the representation of women in the boardroom is still very minimal up until today.
mm,
And often I've seen in my encounters, like men, I yeah, as mentioned earlier, I have been really privileged to be working with very good, strong men and women. The strong men that have shown me really strength to like to also see like yeah, there is a masculinity in me. Like I can be like them as well. But there are some women as well that really also expose me to how to be strong, how to really speak up, express yourself. And there are some that are just sitting in the room that don't say anything. So again, I ask myself, which one should I be? Should I
mm,
prefer to just zip my mouth when I am in the boardroom, even I have something to say? Or
mm,
should I prefer to express myself? So one key challenge there is representation. We are very like the women in leadership, women in the workforce is still considered minimal. And I think one of the efforts that I really put in when I joined also Crenaway International, the first thing that I have to take on is to look at the diversity mix. What's the gender mix between male and female? What's the nationality mix between different countries, between US, Europe, Asian, African continents? So that's where you really need to look at diversity, and it was really challenging. But how did I bridge that is for me to understand, connect with people from different countries. When I speak with them, I really have to really foster deep connections, understand what are the things that what's their staple food, what are the activities they love doing, what are the things that they enjoy.
Mm,
And travel to places as well was like one way of bridging it, because when you travel to places, it
mm,
really brings you a lot of learning, that you get to see what is the reality of the colleague
mm,
that you are speaking with, how it is like in their country.
mm,
So that also was the way of me bridging the gap of understanding diversity and speaking openly and establish deeper connections with people to understand them better is also one key. And secondly, being a voice, as a woman, being a voice in the boardroom is also the next challenge. Like, yeah, is the second. I said before, representation of women is still minimal. Second is like being a voice in the boardroom is also a challenge, because like we don't have the numbers. So the moment you speak up, sometimes you're not being less listened to empathetically. Like maybe they listen, but it's without empathy. So they're not putting themselves into your shoes to really understand what are you trying to say. Wait, how did you dissect this kind of information or decision? So
mm.
the the voice is not there. It's not represented, and it's a challenge in today's world.
These are two powerful points that you're making. The first one, you're saying, how what is my leadership style when I am in a boardroom as a woman, and I know that the number of women in the boardrooms is not as high, especially in a country where you are operating right now, right? And so, first of all, you are
Mhm.
saying I needed to make a decision. What is my leadership style? Do I want to be strong, as you said, as a man that I know that I can be? Do I want to express myself and my leadership and my voice in a different way, more female? Do I speak up? Do I stay quiet? And then you say the how can I learn to express my voice in a boardroom when the challenge there in a boardroom that often is male dominated? I feel that I'm not listening pathetically. Maybe yes, I'm speaking, they are not talking, but from between not talking and actually listening what I am to say, what I'm saying, there is a huge difference. So this has been your challenges. And so if you could speak to your male colleagues, the ones that you are in the boardroom, that you share this experience with, what would you suggest them to do differently so that the collaboration and the collaborative leadership can emerge more than what it does today? What would you ask them to do differently, or to start doing that maybe they are not doing according to you, or to stop doing that you notice that are blocking? So, what would you recommend? What would you invite them to do?
Actually, I would invite male leaders in particular to really look at the demographics of the team, to look at the diversity mix of the team, and most of all, the gender mix of the team, and promote leadership in women, because women i- us women, we are wired to think 1,000 times about one thing, whereas men, yes, they always say men are fluid, but women integrate emotions. But to be honest, in this like digital world, no matter how much you want to step away by making decisions purely on fluidity or just black and white without taking into consideration emotions. But if you're dealing with people, you really have to integrate a touch of emotions and feelings in every decision making that you have to make, especially with involves employee engagement, employee welfare, and people in general. So having that diversity, when there is diversity, it will neutralize actually the environment. And that's what I learned as well. And that's also what was, I think, one the milestone that I would say that I take pride is when I first came into Pernod International, look at the diversity mix in terms of nationality, in terms of age group, in terms of gender, so that we can diversify and welcome different segments to create more opportunities for people that are not only coming from one culture or background, but also from all other countries of the world. So it, and also second thing apart from diversity is listening with empathy. Yeah, this is, I always see this is a common, actually I don't get to experience it a lot, but I observe it's in common ways. Like there's a lot of meetings, conferences, or workshops that I have to attend to. Men, yes, when men talks, everyone listens. But when women talks, sometimes as women we speak like very gently, very softly sometimes, because we still have that. I think it's not to stereotype, but I think because of the male dominated society and the male dominated world when it comes to the leadership roles,
Mm,
we take a bit of a step back in really speaking out our mind. So we always think twice, thrice before we say something, before we speak up. So that's basically yeah, that's what I would like to invite male in, especially in leadership positions, to value representation of women and
mm,
diversity of women in the boardroom,
mm,
in the leadership positions, and listen to what they say, not just by listening, but listening with empathy. Really try to go deeper, understand, go into the shoes, understand deeper what are they trying to say. Because no
mm.
matter how men can compartmentalize emotions when making decisions, women are trained to really be blown away with a lot of factors when making one decision.
Yeah.
So buying one dress, for example, like you have to try so many dresses
Yeah.
before you buy one.
Yeah.
So you don't just go for it. Yeah, I like one dress, boom.
Yeah.
When it comes to, if you think like a man, okay, I like blue, this style, that's it, bingo. But if you're a woman, you have to look at pricing, you have to look at design, you have to look at it nice, can I use it again in the future? So the diversity of the mind of women
Mm,
has to be
mm.
there,
Yeah.
because it will really help through in bridging the gap of how you can make strategic decisions in a
So
boardroom.
that's so beautiful what you have just said, because I hear you when you say become aware that men and women are different. We think differently, we feel differently, the way we think is different than what men um, do.
That
And you
is
say, if I would invite my male colleagues, my male the male leaders, men in leadership, and even all kinds of positions, to actually, perhaps we could say, be curious about women in a good sense. So be curious to learn about this diversity, because it brings something different to the table. And so listen to women,
absolutely.
try to get to know them professionally in a new way. Pay attention to what you might not be used to, and don't take it for granted, but actually be curious and try to understand what it is really about, because we are different and we need to integrate these diversities. And so listening and value diversity is what you're saying. I have one last question for
Absolutely.
you, Francis.
Yes.
I don't know if you have children, but
Not
if
yet.
you,
I hope to have one soon.
very
Hopefully.
good, very good, and good. We wish all the best for you to that. If you had a daughter, what one piece of advice, a piece of wisdom that you would like to share with her, so that when she grows up, she can become a great leader in today's context? What would be your piece of advice to her?
All right. I think this is a very crucial part, because I think this is where also I will be able to get to share my learnings, and I would like to pass it on also once I have kids. regardless it's a woman or it's gonna be a man. So I've seen how the world has changed during the pandemic. Like the psychologists have really studied that before there was, yeah, when you go into a job, you need to make sure that you have high intelligent quotient, you need to have your emotional quotient, you need to have your social quotient. And recently they have developed something like, which is the fourth one, the fourth intelligence, which is a measure of adversity quotient, wherein you really have to make sure that, yeah, your mental health is really strong, that whenever you have challenges, you face challenges, you're able to really pick up yourself and bounce back and move back up. So I would like to leave an acronym of evolve. So it's actually evolve, like with all the unpredictable situations, evolution of yourself, and evolution of how you think is very important. So let me dissect what do I mean when I say evolve. So E, I write it that, yeah, my hopefully my children would be able, and like women and men in general would be able to also learn from this point that I get to share. So E stands for educate. So E, as a person, personally and professionally, we need to really learn how to stay current, how to keep up with the times. That whenever there are changes, there are challenges, we would be able to really know where is it coming from. So educate yourself, learn, yes, learn a science, a hardcore science, but at the same time, learn also different other sciences or different disciplines, because that will make you versatile, that will make you be able to multitask or be able to survive when you're thrown in the deep, in a new job or in a new
Would,
place or in a new environment.
would this be out of the five, the key one, the most important one that you would share with your daughter? Because you do have one chance, only one.
So I would say, yeah, so that's to educate, to be versatile. Versatile, that's for V. So be your own variety. Just know a lot of things. Try to establish human connections. Know a lot of things. Again, it goes back to how you educate yourself. And O for opportunities. Welcome each and every opportunity that comes to your door. Then L for learning. Learning is always a continuous process. Never stop learning. You learn from people, you learn from experiences, you learn from what you do, what you're passionate about, or what other people has to say. And be, again, be a voice. Be a voice. Like, yeah, you have to be a voice. Represent yourself. Be out there. Speak up what's in your mind, what's in your heart. And E for endure. Like whenever there are things that happen into your life, yeah, they're there for a reason. You have to endure every challenges, that whenever life hits you hard and when you reach rock bottom, you really need to know how to pick up yourself, go back up, and again move forward. So that's the that's what I would like to impart for my daughter or son, hopefully in the future if I get to have one soon, just to constantly evolve, be evolve yourself, evolve the way how you think, and remember, educate, be versatile, welcome opportunities, continually learn, be a voice, and endure every challenges.
That's beautiful.
Because
That is
thank
beautiful.
you.
And actually, we can take the advice that you would give to both your son and your daughter to evolve. So we all, right? This is an invitation actually for us all to continue evolve, especially when times and situations are changing so quickly nowadays.
Yes.
Francis, thank you so much. It's been great to hear your story. We have learned so many things, and what remaining apart from the evolve that you've just shared. Be a voice, for especially be a voice and find your own style and find the courage to speak up. Be clear about what you want, where you want to go, and stand up for yourself and make choices that take you to where you actually want to be. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
And before, but
Thank
before I let you So if people want to connect with you, where can they find you?
So they can connect with me via LinkedIn, or I will share my email as well. I will share with you my email so that they can drop me a line and I'll be available. Like I'm helping students also from my university, giving them advice how to prepare themselves after graduation, and hopefully I'll be able to share also with HR professionals or even non-HR professionals my experience and how you can learn from them, because for
Great.
me time is really important. And let me leave you with this line which my husband always tell me, that time is like a river. You cannot touch the same water twice, because the flow that has passed will never pass again. So enjoy your moment of your life and
Oh,
stay in touch.
that's so beautiful. Thank you so much, even for this inspiration. And I look forward to having again another conversation in the future. So thank you, Francis, very much.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for being an inspiration to us women as well. Thank
Thank you.
you. I
Thank
admire
you.
what you do. So thank you very much
Thank
and
you,
best of luck.
Francis.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye
Bye.
now.